Whiskey Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I'm in the United States, to be more exact, upstate New York, Hillrock Solera bourbon with a Sauternes finish. Ooh. So Jeffrey Baker, investment banker in New York, decided to throw in the towel and say, hey, I want to become a farmer. Yay. I don't want to just be a farmer. I want to go from grain to glass, and I want to have my own distillery. He hired maybe the best guy out there at the time. That was Dave Pickerell. Unfortunately, he died unexpectedly at the end or in the fall of 2018. And Dave Pickerell actually built Hillrock, designed everything and set everything up. And he decided also on this nice little new idea of Solera. Cool bottle, by the way. I call it the most expensive bourbon perfume bottle. And by Solera, what we do is we use it a lot over here in Europe, especially with sherries and so on. And you put some, maybe 3 barrels at the top, 3 barrels in the middle, and 3 barrels down below. You fill them all up originally. Where did he get his juice originally? Good question. Was it MGP? Was it someplace else? We don't know. We just know he didn't use his own juice at the beginning. So what happens is, after a while, you put your own juice in there. Let's just take a little bottle here and talk about Whistle Pig, also Dave Pickerell. And if you look at the back, it actually says here 32% 2-year-old Vermont rye, 6 years old Indiana rye, 45%, and 23% 10-year-old Canadian rye. So he just vatted them, he mixed them, he married them. Very, very nice. It's possible. And with the Solera, what you do is you actually then put, maybe take out at the bottom 1, 2, 3. At the bottom you take out the half of that. At the top you fill in half of it, and it just trickles down. And of course, in the very beginning, you might actually get something that ends up in the 3rd barrel. But then, of course, you take from the 3rd barrel again, the half of that. You put in more in the top, it trickles down. And of course, after a while, if you're doing this for maybe 10 years, you can almost guarantee that the whiskey at the top is almost the same at the bottom, and you have the same age constantly. But Solera, usually you fill these things up maybe once a year, maybe twice a year at max. Now with bourbon, you're filling a cask a day at least. And so what you're doing is maybe once a month you're filling and you're taking away, and you don't have the time to keep that up to date. You don't have the time for it to age and to mature and become a wonderful thing. What you're doing is you're taking that old good whiskey and replacing with new whiskey from New York, and you're actually lowering the taste of the barrels. And if you actually look at the Hillrock at the beginning, it tasted much better than at the middle, and maybe it's going back up. So what they decided here was to take a premium cru Sauternes cask, which is an area of France where we have this very, very sweet white wine, which is called Sauternes wine. If it's capital with an S, and at the end of an S is actually from the region. This is 46.3%, by the way. This is not a straight bourbon. It's just a Hillrock bourbon Solera aged Sauternes finished. It's not straight because it's been in more than one cask. Sorry, and we don't know how old it is either, by the way. They do say it's 6 years old with a type of finish on it. So what they did is they actually took the Sauternes cask. How old it was, we don't know. A friend of mine here in Germany actually has his own distillery, Alexander Buchholz, Glen El's, very, very nice whiskey. If you can ever get your hands on it, he's not willing to export at the moment because he still wants to just have exactly the right amount every year, which is enough for Europe. But he says, I don't need to do Japan, I don't need to do China, I don't need to do the States, just let me stay in continental Europe, and he's happy with that. And he buys some of the best Sauternes casks in the world, and he puts his whiskey in it. And we're talking like thousands of euros for these casks. Thousands. I'm not really sure they paid thousands of euros for this cask, and they did. The time from France to the States was maybe 6, maybe 8 weeks, maybe even more. How much of it did it dry out? How much was lost in the transport over here in Germany? They actually drive over there, drive through the night, and fill up in the next day. I mean, within like 48 hours, these casks are refilled. It's amazing how much of an influence it has. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare it to maybe my favorite Sauternes cask finish, and this is my tiny little bottle here from Glenmorangie, Nectar d'Or, golden is nectar, or what you also say is nectar of the gods. And this was actually filled also in, or finished in a Sauternes cask. Yep, got the nose, got the Sauternes, and ooh, weak at the end, but it's there. All right, very, very interesting. A lot more bourbon, a lot more corn, a lot more of the butterscotch, a lot more of the pecans, a lot more of the cotton candy in here. Ooh, this is an interesting comparison. Bourbon with a single malt. Oh, the caramel is so much more intensive here compared to the single malt. The single malt is older. It's the 10-year-old actually, plus another 2 years, usually matured in the Sauternes cask. So 12 years in total normally. And over here we have a 6-year-old whiskey with maybe a few months in the Sauternes cask. $100 for that bottle. Amazing, amazing prices. Terribly expensive, to be honest. Okay, let's try this. Yes and no. I have a little bit of a fight in my mouth. I have a not, in my personal opinion, WhiskyJason, a not properly vatted whiskey. There's some nice old juice in there, and there's some nice young juice in there that are still kind of fighting for the dominance here, for the hierarchy, for seniority. And as well as that, there's a finish in there, a sweet white wine with a lot of fruit sugars, trying to push its way forward, and it's always getting hammered back down. Towards the end, it does manage to come, and it does manage to say, hey, look, sweetness is nice. But it's not a symphony in my mouth. More or less, it's at the beginning when the symphony just tries to tone their instruments, trying to do, everyone makes a little noise, and then they start with the symphony. It's that time beforehand. It's not yet perfectly harmonized as it should be. I like that movement. Over here, in contrast, wow, that's a big, big push of the Sauternes at the end. Interesting. Ooh, nice. Many people like this the best. Wow, that's very intensive. Oh, I'm going to actually, that's enough. Just put my 3 drops in here and try it again. I think I know what grade I'm going to give it. It's got a great nose. It really does. But the mouth, the palate, it's a C. On a good day, it's a C plus with that water. But it's fighting. It's not harmonizing. It's a civil war in my mouth for the dominance of my taste buds. Sounds like something Bart would say from Scotch Test Dummies. Who's going to dominate my taste buds today? The new whiskey, the old whiskey, or the finish, the Sauternes? Okay. C plus. Value for money, $100+. Sorry, D. Even if you take off $20 for the bottle, it is a beautiful, beautiful bottle, I must admit. But yet, It's still not what I expected. It's still not what I know. If you want to have an excellent Hillrock whiskey, go for the double oaked rye. That is honey nectar on your tongue. It's so good. This was an experiment. I would say experiment not exactly completed up to expectations. All right, thank you very much for watching. WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today, the Hillrock Bourbon Solera Sauternes finish. And I thank you very much for actually recommending other people to watch my channel as well, to find whiskeys which are very difficult to find, if not also impossible. And also, thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, my videos will be publishing, or will be published. Thank you. Bye-bye.